I am no longer available to play small. I am no longer saying when I or if I or when I get that. It is now. It is happening now, and I'm no longer waiting. So whatever excuse I was coming up with, and a lot of them were limiting beliefs, a lot of them were lies, I was done with it. And I said, goodbye, old Kelsie, and new Kelsie gets to live now.
This concept of up and down, up and down, up and down, it's the reality, right? We all have setbacks, we all have things that, old identities. That's why we call it shedding the old identity versus full transformation. With that said, there are rare cases where people have a immediate transformation, immediate. And Kelsie is one of our clients that went to the last Mastermind, and everything changed immediately afterwards. And for those of you who want to know how to take what you learn and transform quickly, Kelsie is going to share her journey today. We're going to have a fireside chat. I'll just give a little background. When I started working with Kelsie, she was extremely anxious. She felt like she needed to know everything in order to get the results she wanted. It was, how do I do this? How do I do that? I don't know enough. I don't know enough. I don't know enough. And she was also a new mom.
Yes.
And had the pressures of, how do I perform well with Olive, daughter, and other demands that are placed on me at home. And it was a lot of pressure. And she had just come off Salesforce and was at a new job, went from MuleSoft to SnapLogic.
Yeah.
And that was pressure too. How do I perform as a new person? So I'll just let Kelsie give it to you, but she took what we learned about transformation and squashing limiting beliefs and applied it immediately. And the results have been massive and very quick.
Yes.
So let's dive in, Kelsie. If we can sit down, let's give it a round of applause for our fireside chat guest, Kelsie. So we're going to start. Maybe just give us your background for people to know, like when you got into sales, what you were doing before, for context.
Yeah, of course. Well, first, thanks for having me here, and I hope to just impart some of my story with everyone, because in April, when I was at the Mastermind, I actually had a lot of self-doubt. And as Ian said, I didn't think it was possible, but I made a commitment that changed my life. And you can rewire the way that you think. So I'll dive into that, but I hope to just share that story with everyone here today. And I actually got into sales in 2021. I started at Salesforce, but my background was actually in consulting. So I spent 5 years at Deloitte. And then prior to that, I was actually in finance. So sales was a new role for me. And I felt the pressure to perform, and I had always been a high performer by all standards in my finance and consulting career. And so transitioning into sales, I felt a lot of pressure. And when I had Olive, who is my little 15-month-old girl, I knew that what I wanted to give her was a life that was going to require me to elevate in some way, shape, or form. And I had my first year at Salesforce. I was learning how to be an enterprise rep, and honestly, I was just mind tripping. I couldn't figure it out. I was doing the best I could. I was grinding out hours and looking at my little girl and seeing how much I wanted to spend time with her and give her a life. I knew I had to change, and I started working with Ian back in January, and we did private coaching for some time. And so, that's how I started to work with you.
So when we talk about change, we need to have a deep reason to want to change. Can you just, what you just shared, looking at my little girl, I knew I needed to change. Just tell me kind of why you needed to change, or just dive in on that a little more.
Yeah, I had done a lot of reflecting, like becoming a mom. For those that are parents, like when you have a child, it's like a mirror looking back at you. And I started to notice some behaviors or belief systems that are inherited from your family or your friends, whoever raised you. And I didn't like what I saw. I was really scared. I was fear-based. I took fear-based action. I didn't have a lot of joy. It was very results-driven. And when I had Olive, I was like, I don't want to pass that to her. I want her to have a mother that was present and believed and and knew that that showed her that you could live a life full of joy and happiness and not let money and success and tying your worthiness to your career or to your quota. I didn't want her to see that. So I knew I had to make a change. But you and I both know when we started working together, I was like an absolute mess. Like I definitely hadn't had a pop yet in terms of how I was going to change that.
It's a great word, pop.
Yeah.
It's a pop. The reason I want people crying this morning and we sit with it is so you can heal in that space. So if you don't feel the feelings, if you don't grieve, you can't step into a new identity until you lose some of your old identity. So talk to us about the old identity and specifically the mindset. Kind of what was your mindset before, we'll say, the last mastermind and kind of when you were early in the program?
It was very fearful. It was a lot of self-doubt, and it just came from, I think, just a lack of confidence. A lot of times we're doing things in a sales role that feels stretchy, like reaching out to an executive at a Fortune 500 company is, on surface level, intimidating. And I think I had a lot of my ideology and my self-belief on, like, I will be good if I can do that, or if I get that executive meeting, I'll finally be worthy and can call myself an accomplished seller. And a lot of it was externally driven, so my value was tied to my quota, how I was performing in the company, it drove how I felt, and all of that was kind of how I felt.
Yeah, I would say you were very attached to being successful.
Yes.
Okay, so fast forward now to the mastermind last time. What was it that popped for you? What happened there that made the shift? Because we had been working together and, you know, it didn't happen yet. And then after that, it was like, boom. So kind of describe what popped for you.
Yeah, and to Ian's point, we worked together for a whole quarter, and we were working on tactics. Remember, we would do POV.
That's all you wanted to do. Show me how to do a POV. Show me how to do the research.
Yeah, I gotta write a perfect sequence, and then no one would ever respond to my sequence. So we just spent for like almost a whole quarter just trying to develop tactics and strategy. And what changed for me, and what I hope this mastermind here can bring to some of you, is I had a massive shift in the way that I believed. And Elise Archer did a presentation at the very end, the last session, and all of us were like, okay, one last session to go. We've almost made it through the weekend. And that session, for those that were there, was, I think, like single-handedly one of the most transformative sessions I've ever sat through in my life. And I can boil it down to almost one question that Elise had shared with us in that session. And she was actually talking about some of the wishes or the last thoughts of the dying, Bronnie Ware, when she was saying what are like the top 5 regrets of the dying. And one of the top, I think the top one was actually that I wished I had lived a life that was true to me and not for anyone else. And Elise actually put it as, what are you putting your life on layaway for? What are you holding back from that is ultimately your truest desire? And if no one was looking, if no one was watching you, what would you be doing? How would you be feeling? Who would you be with? And she asked us to reflect on that. So we journaled. And newsflash, it wasn't selling. It was spending time with my family and feeling the relief of, I am already worthy, I am already here, I've already made quota, the success is already there, the money to do whatever you desire is there. Now start acting like that. And so that was like the big pivotal moment. That was the question, right? What is your truest desire?
And it was to feel happy.
Yeah.
And not put your happiness on hold until you were successful at work.
Yep.
Okay.
Exactly.
I love it. What happened afterwards? Because you hadn't had the results yet, right? But you made a decision. Tell me what that decision was that you made the minute you left, got on the plane. What was that decision for you?
Yeah, it's a good question, because I was actually driving down the hill from this mountain, and I remember making a promise to myself that was, I am no longer available to play small. I am no longer saying when or if or when I get that. It is now. It is happening now, and I'm no longer waiting. So whatever excuse I was coming up with, and a lot of them were limiting beliefs, a lot of them were lies, I was done with it. And I said, goodbye, old Kelsie, and new Kelsie gets to live now. That was ultimately what shifted when I came down the mountain. And then from there, it was an evolution of how does this new version of me start to show up? Who is the woman that easily makes 7 figures, easily hits quota, lives out her dreams today? How does she feel? How does she think? How does she act? And I started playing with that. And I know, you guys, it sounds crazy, but like, do it now. Start thinking of that now and act as if it is done, and you will start pulling things into you so fast. But you gotta feel it. You gotta feel it.
It's not crazy. What's crazy is putting your happiness on hold until anything.
Yeah, totally.
So how did that new Kelsie think, feel, act? Describe how you showed up differently after you got down the mountain.
I mean, it showed up.
Or how are you showing up now? Because it's been a continuation, not just that day. Like, what's the difference between how you, not just how you thought, but how you showed up? What were you doing differently day to day?
Yeah, I mean, in my sales career, because there's always like multiple facets to everyone, right? So like in my career, it was letting go, and in our mastermind, we learned about this too, right? Like limiting beliefs that hold you back from reaching out to the people that you know are the ones you need to be having conversations with because of, I am lesser than, I'm a salesperson, what value do I bring? No more. That does not serve. That does not serve. So in my sales role, I started just reaching out with just utmost confidence. I let go of perfectionism. I just said, if I'm the woman that has 200% quota and earns 7 figures a year, I don't question whether I should be reaching out to this executive. I just do it. And I do it because I know I can help them. And if they don't get back to me, I don't take it personally. I just started honestly detaching from the outcome and just knowing that I'm doing the right thing, I'm taking the action, and then backing it up with this. This is a really critical shift that happened, which is practicing gratitude and learning your worthiness is there regardless of your number. You gotta go inward, and it's so hard. It's really hard in sales, and you know this, right, Ian, because you've coached me on it, but you get so tied up in like, oh, I'm not on the top of the leaderboard, so I must not be good enough. Mm-hmm. And that's bullshit. That is. And the part of the work in showing up as 7-figure Kelsie and as someone that crushes quota is that also being totally okay with who I am. Because I want my daughter to hear her mom come home and say, I had a great day. Some things didn't go the way I thought, but we're still ready to have dinner and we're still happy and we have so much to be grateful for. So it's also just being present. Stay in the moment. There's a lot to be learned from just staying in the moment and practicing some love and compassion for yourself.
I think you're hitting on a theme that I've been feeling deeply coming into this mastermind, which is the theme of unworthiness. I'm not deserving until I achieve, until I perform. And it's the biggest load of shit I've ever heard. So tell me how your values shifted to feeling worthy even before the results came immediately. What were you doing that made you feel worthy? Because you were so attached to the results before. It was like your entire identity was around being this high performer, consultant, and you go to sales and you don't achieve at the level first that you thought you could. Now you're trying to learn everything from me. And that didn't necessarily give you the feeling that you got, the worthiness feeling that you got from yourself immediately after. So talk to people about how they can feel worthy even though they have belief systems that tell them that you're only as good as your number or your performance. And how did you actually do that? What were you doing that made you feel worthy?
Well, it was a process. and even like all of us, right, we still have to address limiting beliefs. So it's not like I just turned them off, but I quieted them down a lot. And part of the daily practice is meditation, is calming your mind. Also, I totally judged this before actually practicing it, but like affirm yourself. Give yourself positive affirmations. Like, I think the big thing that I've learned is, and I've come up in a career where it's very grind energy for like a decade, right? You stop giving yourself compassion. I think when you grind so hard, you forget that you deserve love, that you deserve love. And I think the main shift is feeling love for yourself, compassion for yourself, grace, right? Give yourself some compassion. How would you talk to your child? How would you talk to your friend? Turn that inward voice onto you. And so it was honestly just learning how to love myself a little more and being gentle and kind to myself. And then from there, you can sell abundantly. You can sell from a place of prosperity because you are good. You truly are, and no one else can take that from you. You own that.
What were some of the things you affirmed to yourself? When you say affirm, you need to affirm it. What does that look like for you?
Oh my gosh, so embarrassing. There are so many different things to
know what to do.
I know. You got it. I'll say affirmations should be crafted from your own voice. So these are just examples, but I was actually just telling Mike Fiasconi this, that like one of the affirmations that I say, because in sales, you know, great days, great hours, and then things can turn, and I always affirm. Now, one of my new affirmations is, everything is always working out for me or my better. So when things don't go my way again, because I had a real control freak, like a personality flow, and I realized that when I let go of that and when I just flowed with my day, I actually just started seeing more things come into my business, prospecting wise, opportunities would show up. And it's because I actually let it go more. I didn't try to grip it harder. I actually just released it. So everything is always working out for Kelsie or her better. And I'm co-creating with the universe. I am okay. I am safe. I am loved. I'm so proud of you, Kelsie. I'm so proud of you. Those things, right?
I love it. And what's been the result in terms of like what has come to you? So we think we have to control and grind, and that's kind of, it's almost demotivating in a way, versus showing up and being and doing what's in your control. So letting go of outcomes, but also attaching to doing everything you can. I'm hearing, I call it C-suites. I show up, I'm meditating, I'm affirming. So what's been some of the things that have come to you as a result of letting go, ironically?
Yeah, it's funny. When you let go and you stop caring so much, that's when it happens. Like, honestly, when you start to realize that you're here to fill a bigger purpose, that you're here for whatever that truth is for you, and you stop focusing on like the lack of, and you start focusing on what you have, the fulfillment of that, that's when things shift. It's weird. It's like it's the exact opposite of how I used to think. So I started changing what I focused on, and that's when things started to come in. So actually and this is not to come from a bragging position at all, but in 5 months since that pop, I made 85% of my quota. Just in those months. Just that.
First year, by the way, SnapLogic, not like a household brand like Salesforce, you know?
But that doesn't define me. And I have to caveat that because we clap for that, right? But the most important thing is the growth. And the biggest thing that this whole mastermind and this community has given me is an ability to rewire the way you think and find happiness not from your number, not from the success, although that is great and it helps get you the life that you want for your kids or your family, but it does not define me anymore. So yes, the results are there from the sales. That's wonderful. But more importantly, I'm just happy that I can show up for my family, my husband, my little girl, and she can see that I'm a mom that works, and I'm not spending like 60 hours working. I'm spending much less than that. And I can still disconnect. I can go to the dinner table with her. I can take her to the park, and I'm not like festering over a deal. I just let it go. I just flow with it. So, but it's a practice, and that's the gratitude and the just the visualization, all of that stuff, the belief to continue to affirm that that's who I now am.
And you said something about once you know your greater purpose. Something I hear a lot about is I don't know my purpose, right? There's a lot of, purpose and mission things up there. How did you find your purpose, or what was it feels like it's through Olive from what you've said, but just describe to everyone what is your purpose outside of just performing in your career in sales? What's that broader purpose that you can feel proud about every day?
Yeah, I mean, I think it continues to evolve, and honestly, I wasn't really thinking about purpose until I had this epiphany, this different way of thinking. It's actually one of my main sticky notes on there is actually redefining purpose and mission. Olive is a big reason for my change because I want her to have a different experience in watching both her parents be in careers. I want her to see that. I also think that this is a little vulnerable, but I've always thought about being on stages and being in a position where I can share my story with other people in the hope that I don't know if this is helpful for anyone. I don't, but I do know it helped transform my life. And now looking back, I can almost not even relate to that that other person of me. So I hope my new mission is how can I share this with other moms. It's a lot of pressure on working mothers, not like dads, and dads are involved too. I'm very grateful for my husband. He enables a lot of it as well, but it's hard. The pressures in society of being a working mom, they're hard, they're heavy. And I hope to show other mothers that you can have it all and it doesn't sacrifice or cost your family. You can do both. And I think that's beautiful. So that's what I'm kind of striving for in terms of mission.
I love it. And that's give it up for that. And we need more women in this room. We women face a different set of challenges. I hear it with my wife and the pressure she feels, even as a full-time mom, to not be working or contributing, in her way. And I want to just dive in a little deeper there with Olive and just being at home. You talk about grace and showing up and presence. What's shifted for you there in terms of how you're interacting, at home with your family?
Oh yeah, just being present, right? Being present is the hardest thing. At least when I became a mom, it was how am I going to balance thinking through all these things? And those that are parents, they know that. And also just life in general gets really busy. So it's just being present. It's practicing being in the present moment. And also what I've noticed is in this new self-reflection and just being in flow, I've learned to listen to intuition a lot better. And actually as a woman in sales, Ian, a lot of our managers are male. It's a very male-dominated space. And I think one big thing that I'm leaning into even in motherhood is just cutting out the noise and listening to what's in your intuition. Because I think one thing is I realized that kind of got toned down. I stuffed it down and I stopped listening to what felt true in my heart. And now in this new way of thinking and just owning who I am, it's showing up in motherhood as well, where I'm this is what's best for my kid and for my time and for me. And it shows up in the sales world too. So now it's not just following a script or running a talk track. I even hate talk track now. I'm trying to eliminate that word from my vocabulary because it's now a conversation. I'm trying to become more human in the way I sell, more human in the way I'm a mom, and just being authentic. And that's listening to what's true for you inside.
So you were all about the scripts.
Yeah.
All about what do I say here, this objection, this POV development.
Yeah.
I said, stop it.
Yeah.
So just lean into that a little bit more. What does a call look like, a first conversation look like with a client coming from this place of abundance and not needing anything? What does it feel like or sound like to have this conversational way of selling versus what you were doing before?
It's like bringing the human element back, guys. It's letting go of this idea that you have to nail this script to get the next step. Let that go and just pretend you're not in a disco call. How would you show up? And if you were coming from a true place of abundance, what would you hope that person could just get from you? Like, did you leave making them laugh once? Did you have a great conversation showing them love and compassion because they have a really hard day? What can you give to them from that? And honestly, I used to spend hours, because we used to do this, prepping for even like a 20-minute call. I actually have stopped doing that so that I don't clog up what I feel in the moment. And so scripts actually were kind of a smokescreen to that. Now I actually just kind of go in there and I feel it out. Of course, I still have tactics and like the strategies we use are still part of how I navigate a conversation. But I hope to show up and feel authentic to me, because then I hope in return I get an authentic version from the customer back.
Okay, and how are customers receiving this version of you? What's happening as a result?
I'm closing more business than I ever have in my career, which is awesome. But I think also I just feel true. I was talking, I think, to Meg back there, and like I would feel so icky, just like, oh, that was not even me. Like, why did I say that? What was I even saying? That's not even something I would ever say. And now I actually leave calls and I was like, oh, that guy's a nice guy. Maybe he'll come work with us, but if he doesn't, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, and we're kind of practicing this right now, right? You prepare questions you're going to ask for everyone, but that preparation's up here. You already kind of know what you're going to go through the practice of preparing. So preparing is good, but it's a couple bullets. Let's dive into these and go from there. So fundamentally, what I didn't prepare for you, so I'll put you on a spot, is what does your typical day look like in terms of, again, you're a working mom, you're meditating, doing morning routines, all this stuff. I want to just kind of share when you start working, when you stop, what you're working on, family, just kind of give people a day in the life of a weekday. Kelsie.
Maybe this goes off the record too, because I'm trying some things right now.
We can cut it if you want, still.
Because actually,
you have to be here live.
No, I say that in like the best intentions, because actually when I was reflecting around like what do I really desire, when I asked myself like what would I be doing on an island if no one was watching, it was spending more time with Olive. And like vulnerable moment is that as a mom, or if you're a woman and you think I want kids down the line, you almost start to like stuff that maybe that desire to like, oh, I might want to spend time with my kids and not feel guilty about it, so I'll just grind it out and like make as much money as I can and then just move on. I've actually adopted that belief to say I'm actually a woman that can bend time to what I need to do. So I'm actually playing with a 30-hour work week right now.
Wow.
And so I start my day at 8, and that actually does not begin with festering and jumping into my inbox. It actually is a visualization effort. And okay, who is this woman? Because my goal is to be on the top of the leaderboard.
Okay, so I'm going to pause for a second, but she's putting in work. She's still working.
Oh yeah, I'm still working.
She's working on a different thing than jumping into work. She's working on herself, so just take a note of that.
Yeah, it's setting the intention of the feeling, okay, it is already done. I have already made quota. It is coming to me right now. Not here yet, but it's going to happen. Mm-hmm. And it's setting that mindset in place, and then I start working. And I do wrap my day at like 2:30 or 3, and then guess what I get to go do? I pick Olive up from my mom's, and we go to the park, and it just fills my soul. And the beautiful thing about that, Ian, is that when I get to spend time with my child, I come back to work even better the next day. And I'll still hop online at night sometimes to fill things out if I need to, or if there's something urgent, I will respond to that. But more importantly, I'm showing up completely full, and I'm not shortchanging myself for what I really want, which is to be with my baby. Mm-hmm. And I don't apologize for that anymore. I just do it, and the results have been showing up. And so, yeah, I'm here to challenge the belief that you need to work 40 hours a week.
I want clap for that. You can do it all. I love the 30-hour work week, because working less, actually, it's Parkinsons Law. Right? Yeah. Work expands to fill the time allotted. Mm-hmm. And the less hours you work, the more efficiently you work. You have to work. And the more you can be judicial with your time and say no to things that are BS, non-serious clients, internal meetings that don't matter. So what does that look like in the 30-hour work week? Tell us what that looks like for everyone.
And I give all the credit to Ian's training on this. RGAs, baby. Nathan told me about that, and that's why I joined this community, because what you taught me is the value of my time. You're very valuable, and we all should be acting like those CIOs and CEOs. Our time is incredibly valuable, and what you are doing, you're trading a passion for. So my day is only RGAs, and if people get mad that I don't respond on, non-RGA activities, just like internal connects or like, there's all sorts of things that fill our calendar. It's not a priority for me, and I just don't show up. Honestly, I don't. And the most important thing about that is in 30-hour work week, which is what I want because I want to be with my family. I'm so laser focused. Once I do my meditation and get in the right state, it is prospecting, it's running deals, and that's what I focus on.
Here's something that's going to hit all of you very hard, I hope. The people working 10, 12 hours a day are doing less RGAs than you are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How many of them are doing 6 hours RGA every day? If that's all you're doing. Think about it.
But that's all you need. If you cut the BS, I guarantee you're going to find the time. You have to switch your belief that it's possible. So I started saying, it's possible for me to make 7 figures, hit quota, and be with Olive for 6 more hours. And I affirmed that. I can do that. And then guess what? You just focus on RGAs and it can happen. So.
Okay, so RGAs for you, just for everyone, like what are those RGAs? Is it include also like, think about like POV development, think about prepping.
Yes.
Think about your own development, right, in terms of your learning. Because you go to every one of these weekly calls. You go to every coaching call. You're at all the masterminds.
Yeah.
The people that are too busy working are the ones that are failing because they're not prioritized. So how do you think about your own growth and development and like what are the things like, I guess it's a 2-part question.
Yeah.
Let's start there.
For the RGAs, one really helpful exercise that we did at your last mastermind is take out a sheet of paper, reflect. Your biggest deals you've closed, your biggest career moves. What were you doing or what did you do to get that? What moved the needle for you to get there? And when I did that exercise, it was like sending that follow-up email like 7th or 8th time. It's picking up the phone. It's dropping a voice text. It's creating a deal deck. It's practicing a presentation, dry running. It's everything that actually moves the deal closer to finish or generating an opportunity. And it's just anything else, quite honestly. I mean, there's some things, but like mostly that's what I spend my time on from an RGA perspective.
Mm-hmm. And how do you like not show up this is something I had to do with Salesforce too. My last year at Salesforce, I was working 25 hours a week and overachieved main club. So I know it's possible because I was starting a business and I was in recovery at the same time. And it was like the value of your time is so diligent. Salesforce, this is COVID year, and they put so many internal meetings on the calendar for like all hands, and here's a free day, 3-day weekend for, good intentions, but I think it was like 10 hours a week on the calendar of new meetings, AVP, skip level, because everyone's kind of not sure what to do. Yeah. And I didn't show up. And it was like, well, I don't have a speaking role. That's kind of how I thought about it. If I'm not speaking, if I'm not helping my clients, I'm not moving deals forward. And I had to talk to my boss about that and tell him I'm not going to these meetings. I can't. Yeah. I have too much going on. It doesn't make any sense. And he said, okay, that's fine. Yep. What's been your kind of strategy for saying no and not showing up, whether it's people internally or partners or all this stuff that people like? Do you just ignore them, or what do you do?
I try not to ignore. Usually I'll just say like I won't be attending, or if it's like forecasting calls, our favorite thing ever. Usually I'll try to like preempt that and I'll send my boss a Slack with everything he needs to know. Here's the opportunity, here's everything that's in my number for the quarter, and then I ask like, do you need me to join live to discuss this, or if you can, ping me questions. And he's pretty good with that. So if they're larger all hands meetings, I sometimes show up. If they're like if my CEO is on there and there's company updates, I'll listen passively. But most of them, I say it's not an RGA. I'd rather be spending time creating a POV, reaching out, following up, because a lot of the time, like one big shift that I've actually changed in the way I approach the way we prospect or POV is I actually try to inject some fun into it, like be creative. And to do that, you got to cut all that other stuff out. Like you gotta start to play around with like some element of fun. And so I usually just don't go. And then on a personal level, I believe people come in and out of your life for reasons, and that's okay. Like, so some people are no longer serving you in this particular part of your growth, like, yeah, I've definitely pulled back on some relationships that weren't serving me, and I invest in, communities or with like-minded people that do share, kind of the growth that we're trying to achieve together. So
I love it. We're going to open it up to questions in a minute, and then we're going to go have some fun team building. But my last question for you is, it goes back to that self-worth, right? A lot of people, they don't give themselves that self-care and that self-love because they don't feel deserving of it, or because it's not a priority, versus so their families are left with the leftovers. They're left with the leftovers, and they're just empty inside. They only have their work. What do you do to give yourself self-love every day, and just what does that look like, and how long does it take, and what is your process for that?
Again, a belief. Everyone in this room is deserving of self-love. Prioritize yourself. You are important and you are deserving of that. Change that belief that, oh, maybe later. You rewire that thought. You can. So one, it was rewiring it to, I do deserve time for myself, and I do deserve resetting or just spending time in things that fulfill my soul. So for me, it was actually spending time with Olive. So part of this whole 30-hour work week was like, what lights me up is actually being able to go to the park with her, like multiple times during the week, and just setting work down. And that filled my soul. So that's how I actually like take care of myself, is I'm saying yes to things that I know light me up more frequently, almost daily. And that's how I make sure I'm taking care of myself. Also just like basics, right? Like get sleep, put your phone down. Oh, I don't do social or watch news. I just find that to be poisonous. And honestly, if there's something on the news that you need to know about, you'll find out about it. So I just cut a lot of...
My mom will make sure I find out about it.
Yeah, my mom will too. So, it's just like focusing in on you and making sure that, you deserve love. You deserve compassion. We're always thinking, how can we treat our customers better? Like all this experience, and you forget about you. You're important too. Don't forget about that. So I think that's just one, giving yourself permission that you're worthy of that, and then whatever speaks to your soul.
I think it's different for everyone.
Yeah.
But treating yourself well and treating yourself to the things you enjoy, whether that be a run or a walk or some sunshine or time with your children or a really nice sushi dinner, which I do a lot of, or trips. That's what enables you to show up feeling good. And when you feel good, the people you're talking to feel good. And you can be the light. You can be the light for them. And that's what tends to happen. So Kelsie, the energy you've shown up and the light that you have is just radiant, and it's infectious. And I felt it even over the Zoom. I felt a lightness, a letting go.
Yeah.
So how do you feel on a day-to-day basis with this new way of thinking and living? How are you describing how you feel every day?
I would previously have described myself as a very anxious person. Okay, let me claim that. Now, I would say my anxiety is like non-existent. It still pops up because I'm a human being and like we're all humans. But I would say that I feel relieved. I feel like, okay, if I got, if something happened tomorrow, I lived a life that is now feeling truer to me. I'm doing that as I show up in my discovery calls. I'm authentically me, and I'm happy about that. So I feel like actually just genuinely good, like really good. Like if I don't make or crush quota, I'm still good. And I'm still live a really awesome life.
And last 2 quarters, right? This is only 6 months. Tell us last 2 quarters how this has impacted, just for everyone to know that this works, working less, feeling lighter. Throw it out there.
I exceeded quota quarterly the last 2 quarters. I think it was 107% in Q2, and then I'm on track for 150% this quarter.
So immediate results. For those of you questioning or doubting or watching on YouTube, I can't be this way until I get the numbers. No, right? Happiness does not follow success. Trust me, my biggest years in crushing at Salesforce, I was silently struggling with addiction and feeling emptier than ever. Success follows happiness. not the other way around. So don't put your happiness on hold. Choose to be happy by doing things that make you happy now, and that will show up in how you're working and engaging, because you're authentic and confident and lighter.
Yeah.
And you give off a different energy. So let's give Kelsie a big round of applause. We're going to start the games in about 10 minutes, but we do have time for a couple questions from anyone who wants to. Meg, I'll repeat your question, so you can say it out loud. I'll repeat it.
Okay, well, Kelsie, it was awesome to walk with you. I felt like I was really resonating with, I'm working to become you now. I resonate with who you were before you talked.
Yep.
And do you ever, like, now that you're this light, awesome, authentic Kelsie, do you ever find yourself like creeping towards who you were before, and how do you like channel that and stop it to make sure that you're still this badass?
Yeah, so the question is, for anyone who didn't hear, do old identities creep back? And what do you do when that happens to kind of shed or stop that?
Yeah, it's such a good question, and I enjoyed our walk as well. But yeah, it happens because we're humans. So when you're rewiring old beliefs, you're gonna get pushback. Your subconscious is gonna fight you because it doesn't know what this is, but you stick with it. And one way that I handle that when like old limiting beliefs come up is I actually do something very similar to that exercise we just did. I ask myself, is this really a true thought, or does this thought serve me in a positive way? And like, honestly, immediately you'll know. I actually will like listen to my feelings in my chest. For me, I feel it in my heart. Like if it's constrictive, then it's a lie. It's a lie, and it does not serve. So what happens is I'll usually tell myself that's a lie. I'm very big on journaling too. I do believe in like writing your thoughts down. So I might even jot it down on paper, and then I reconnect with the version that I said yes to coming down that mountain. I say, who is she? How would she feel? How would she act in this situation? And I reconnect to that woman. And then I just continue to practice that.
And is that like a daily thing that this happens, or is it?
In the beginning, yes, it was daily. But now that I've done this for a few months, it's actually more just like I'll catch the thoughts and just be like, yeah, go away. So, and new thoughts will come up as you continue to like ascend into different levels. But yeah, in the beginning, you'll have to have a mechanism to put them away, but it is possible, and then it does get easier.
And for anyone who wants to know how to do that in that practice, there's a lesson called winning the internal battle. It's at the end of the habits, when the old identity comes back, the old doubts creep in, and what to do about it. And you described that perfectly. Let's take another question. Let's go, Kit.
So in the journey to the new you, what did you find yourself comfortable giving up that was comfortable before?
Question is, what did you find yourself comfortable giving up that was in your comfort zone before?
Entertaining thoughts that were, quite frankly, mean and sabotaging my thinking. I actually made a commitment that I was no longer going to even think or utter the words, well, what if I don't make quota? What if I get fired from this job? I was like, that's done. That does not serve. So I'm not even going to speak that into existence. I'm not even going to think those thoughts. I refuse to. So I actually was like telling my subconscious, like, you do not get to do that. So Kit, to your point, it was like getting rid of the junk. Like this, I'm so done with this paradigm. I'm so done with this like, blaming others, it was just, no, I'm done. I just said no to that.
Release that which does not serve you. Bobby, you got your hand up.
Yeah, so you talk a lot about meditation and visualization. Like, can you walk us through that? Like, were the one and the same? Was it different? Like, just trying to understand how you did it.
Yeah, and I'm still learning this, so just like take it with a grain of salt, but they're different in my practice. So my practice, one, is because I have a fast mind. I'm a challenger and very type-based, so I have a quick tendency to overanalyze quickly and run through every permutation. First and foremost, it's quieting the mind, like just getting it to just calm down. I think we're doing breath work tomorrow, which is so therapeutic. I absolutely practice that, just calming the mind to be present, just focusing on breath. The visualization is something that you can sprinkle in. I do it every day just to set my day, but visualizing what you want in great detail so you feel it. You got to feel it, like you got to believe it, because your subconscious mind doesn't know the difference. It really doesn't. So if you tell it, I already made quota, I can't wait to see that 7-figure check come in. It will. If you feel it and visualize it, what you're wearing, all of that, it doesn't know the difference. And you start actually believing it and you start showing up like that. So visualization is important to knowing where you're trying to rewire to. You need to give your brain something new to focus on.
Your brain experiences it before it occurs.
Yep.
And it doesn't know the difference. You feel those feelings, those emotions. We probably have time for one more. Nathan?
Yeah. Well, first I just want to say it's like wild to see this because I remember was it December dinner or something like that?
Yeah.
Kelsie and I were on the same team at MuleSoft.
Yeah.
And she was on maternity leave, and she wanted to be productive while she was on maternity leave. Debating whether to invest in this program, and I was like, why don't you just like chill a little longer? But anyways, we signed up. Thanks for the referral bonus, by the way. But yeah, just to like see that you've done that and like come here and just like I can hear the difference and like how confident and calm and less anxious you are. But I'm curious because if I work till 2:33 and I'm clocked off, I would feel like I'm like fucking off today.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like I can't even imagine having that kind of work week.
Yeah.
Also, you're on the West Coast, so there's some advantages there.
Yeah.
But I'm just curious on like, do you just like shut off after 2:33, or you like kind of like still passively online?
Yeah.
The question is, if you stop working 2:33, do you still think about work, or do you completely shut off and be present without the guilt of thinking you should be working because you're stopping at 2-3 o'clock?
Super fair point. And when I was playing around with this, I had that kind of limiting belief. And what I did is I evaluated why I thought that thought, what was driving that, like a FOMO of like sitting in front of your laptop, like what did I think was happening? And actually how I reframed it, Nathan, was I started to say, I asked myself this question to be present after logging off around 2:30 or 3. Did I do everything I could today to move the ball forward for prospecting and driving deals forward? If I did, then I really can disconnect and just be present. If not, then I say, okay, that's okay. You're doing great. Now we're gonna go hang out with Olive, but you're gonna come back and you're gonna finish that, because I have the integrity to say, like, I still know I'm gonna carry this forward, but it's giving some grace that like it might look a little different today.
This is such a good point. Okay, if you want to be present at home, right, you cannot be present if you feel guilty because you feel like you wasted the day or you didn't do what you said. And I've had that all the time. I stop at 6, I'm with my family, and if I didn't get stuff done, it affects me. And I'll tell my wife, I gotta go online for a little bit, or I'll wake up early because it just doesn't go away.
Yeah.
So the way you do this, working a little less or spending time and being present, is you've made the most of the day. You've done the things you said you're going to do. You've leaned into RGAs. You don't get to be present if you're avoiding the hard things because you're afraid, because you're procrastinating, because you're a perfectionist. But when you have a bias for action and you're taking action, you're making the most, you can stop at 3. You can work 25, 30 hours, but you better make those hours count when you are working.
Totally.
So with that, I think one last question on this.
It's not really a question, it's just, first of all, to echo Nathan, I'm so proud of you because I do have to share. We were sitting on the boat last year and she looked at me, she goes, you really believe that? Like, you talk to yourself and tell yourself these things? And I go, yeah. She goes, I don't know about that. I don't try it.
Yeah.
Which was cute. But for everyone that has their family, right, and their children, I'm a single mom and I've got 2 kids that need help. And I swear to God, I love the fact that you guys, the little ones, but when they get 14 and 15, good Lord, it is like 10 times X, right? So I know at 2:10, I have to be done because I have to pick these 2 up at school. Then I have to make sure that they're ready to get to practice by 4 o'clock, right? I tell my boss, I go, listen, I've got some mom things that I really want to do that are going to help me show up and be a better person. And I said, if I don't get done what I'm supposed to do, I'll get back on at night.
transparency with your bosses, and I think I've told you guys this too. Every Friday, take the 5 or 10 minutes and update your bosses, because now no one's questioning what you did, right? And it's off your back, and you're not getting questioned. She's texting and saying, "Hey, here's my forecast. Do you need me to join?" My boss is like, "It's not a good look." I go, "Then if you put me first, I'll get on, say my piece, and then I'm jumping, because I don't care what Joe Blow is doing and what he's not doing, and how come he still hasn't moved the needle. I'm gonna show up, but I'm showing up when it works."
I love it, guys. We gotta jump, but let's everyone thank Kelsie. She'll be here all weekend. Before you kick off,